Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Into Cinema, the show where we discuss movies, new and old, that you may not have seen or analyzed before. I'm Kevin.
Thesaurus in the library, yes, under Y.
Lau.
And I'm Tiffany.
Jeez, Banana, shut your friggin' gob, okay?
McLaughlin.
And I'm Cassie.
We can discuss sexism and survival situations when I get back.
Jurassic Park. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I know where that's from. I know it.
We know. It's so funny. Like, that section is so funny, too, because he's like, well, we can't send her. She doesn't know how to turn on the lights. It's just like, we can discuss this later.
Big rip. How many does it take to turn on the lights? We'll never know. But today, we're not talking about Jurassic Park. Today, we're talking about the 2005 film, directed and written by Rian Johnson, Brick. Content warning for this episode, there are mentions of violence and guns that are present in the film. So if you are sensitive to those topics, we recommend not listening further in the episode. Now, moving on. Brick, 2005 film written and directed by Rian Johnson, known for Knives Out, The Brothers Bloom, Looper, and The Last Jedi, which the last one's kind of controversial, but don't worry about it. So, Tiffany, you chose this movie. Did you want to go ahead and give us the synopsis?
The synopsis of Brick is, after receiving a frantic phone call from his ex-girlfriend, teenage loner Brendan Fry, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, learns that her dead body has been found. Vowing to solve her murder himself, he must infiltrate high school cliques that he previously avoided. His search for the truth places him before some of the school's roughest characters, leading to a confrontation with a drug dealer known as the Pin.
Ooh. Sounds sketchy.
Yeah.
But Tiffany, so you chose this movie, but you've never seen it before, correct?
Correct.
So
Correct.
What did you think of it?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had a lot of time to reflect about this film and why I chose it. And the reason why I chose it because I have never seen like Rian Johnson's early work before. I only know like of his recent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to see where, you know, his style comes from. I really love looking into like famous directors and other filmmakers like early work. I love seeing where they started out and comparing it to where they are now. And it's all there. Like, it is all there completely. And I am glad that I watched this. It's put a lot of like perspective into who Rian Johnson is as a filmmaker now. And I think the film sets out what it was, you know, I think it does what it sets out to do. But I think like watching this movie, I realized I'm like, oh, maybe I just don't like noir movies. And this movie encapsulates what it means to make a noir film. And I was like, wow, like, I really don't like this.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, I don't want to say it's bad. Like, I think it's good for what it's doing. And I think it does exactly what it's trying to do. But, yeah, just put a really interesting perspective on how I view noir films, and all the elements are there. And I'm like, oh, thinking back to like movies that I like from, you know, the earlier days of noir that I don't like. And I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I just don't like that.
Yeah, that's fair. Just not your cup of tea.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Cassie, this is your first time watching Brick as well, correct?
Yes, it is. I have to say, I had the opposite experience where I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. I went in with pretty low expectations, knowing that it was like, it's his first film, and, you know, like the learning curve can definitely be there. But I was pleasantly surprised. I can definitely see how he has a knack for mystery, and like why Knives Out definitely became a thing for him, and why he, like, so clearly in Knives Out had so much fun. It's like you see kind of the inklings of that in Brick, which I thoroughly enjoyed watching. I think I mentioned this before, but it's the first film in a long time where, like, after watching it, I actually wanted to go and find the script and then read the script. Like, because the dialogue was so intense and interesting. I was like, I think I have to go back and like read the script and really get that alternative method of understanding and hearing their dialogue.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if any of our listeners are interested in reading the script or the treatment, which is written like a novella, there will be a link below in the description. They are found on Rian Johnson's website, and so it's free to download right there. Yeah, and this is
don't even have to torrent it.
You don't even have to torrent it. It's all legal right there. Yeah, this is my second time watching this film. I watched the first time I watched it was 2 years ago. Someone recommended it to me. I really loved The Last Jedi, and Knives Out was coming out, and a friend of mine is like, "Oh, you gotta watch Brick. It's really good." I'm like, okay. And then I thought it was like some obscure like indie movie, but then I watched it. I was like, "Oh, that was great." And I looked it up online, and everyone was like talking about it. I'm like, man, was this just like under my nose the whole time? No, I really enjoyed Brick though. Like, I love noir, the noir aesthetic, and I love like the which is the mixing that with modern day high school setting, which we'll talk about in a bit. And I love Rian Johnson's direction. I've having seen all of his features now. He really does know how to like portray emotion on screen, not just through actors, but also through sound design and cinematography, and just the whole package. And Steve Yedlin is the same cinematographer he used with all of his features. He's also shot this movie. And the camera tricks are, and I especially went through it some shots frame by frame, during this viewing. Some of the camera tricks are like really easy to do, but it's just the way it's done and executed makes it seems like so awesome and really pulls you into the moment. And yeah, the mystery is great. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is great as always. It's just an all around great mystery movie.
Yeah, I totally. I agree with some of those in camera tricks. They were really fun. We did the same thing, especially with some of the fight sequences.
Yeah, there's
really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of Alfred Hitchcock to it too, which Hitchcock is is one of the main noir filmmakers as well. Yeah. But there's a lot of it where I was watching, it was like, oh, this is specifically like an Alfred Hitchcock method that's not present in a lot of noirs, but still technically noir. But yeah, so that's our spoiler-free thoughts on Brick. And so now we're going to go dive a bit further. From now on, it's going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, highly recommend doing so. As of recording this, it is $3.99 to rent. You can find a Blu-ray copy for pretty cheap. I found mine. Actually, I want to talk about this too. I discovered a new distributor when I bought this Blu-ray for Brick. And it is called Kino Lorber, Kino space Lorber. Essentially, they apparently just remaster movies and put them on Blu-ray. So the Blu-ray copy I found on Amazon for $15 through Kino Lorber is a 4K restoration supervised by Rian Johnson himself. It contains audio commentary by Rian Johnson and actors Nora Zehetner, Noah Segan, and some of the producers and costume designers as well, and the production designer. 8 deleted scenes, and then just a lot of like this. It sounds great. The remaster looks really fantastic. Like, I would not have guessed this was. Obviously it looks like it was shot on film, but it's like so crisp and clean, but in the good way where it keeps the film grain as well. So it's a really fantastic remaster, and for only $15, like you're getting Criterion Collection quality right there. So highly recommend.
Yeah.
But yes, now we're going to.
Awesome.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about spoilers for Brick and specifically how it fits into postmodernism. So we wanted to use Brick as an introduction to the concept of postmodernism. But what is postmodernism? Why should we care about postmodernism? So bear with us. It's a little abstract, but I swear it'll make sense the more you listen. So Google defines postmodernism as a late 20th century style and concept in the arts, architecture, and criticism that represents a departure from modernism and has at its heart a general distrust of grand theories and ideologies, as well as a problematical relationship with any notion of art. Now that sounds really confusing. But essentially, so we have a phase of art called modernism, which is like, the discovery of the technology of an art medium, and then doing, making, with painting, it's making it photorealistic. With movies, it's just kind of like the older films that are pretty straightforward and to the point. Postmodernism in film starts around the 1980s. The earliest examples being Monty Python, The Holy Grail, and more popular being Pulp Fiction, where it takes those modern ideas of the medium and expands on it more to kind of not only subvert expectations of the audience, but also toy with the medium more to play to push the medium further in terms of storytelling. So Studio Binder, a website known for providing film advice, describes postmodern movies as postmodern movies aim to subvert highly regarded expectations, which can be in the form of blending genres or messing with the narrative nature of a film. So that's basically like the more condensed version of what I just said. Cassie, do you have any notes on postmodernism you want to share?
Yeah, I think what makes postmodernism in particular so interesting is it's not really like a unified movement. It's like this consistent conversation of like, here's how things usually happened and here's our take on it, which is why it's so hard to define, because like, for example, we're talking postmodernism using film noir for this as the basis. But postmodernism can be applied to so many different genres. Like if you have a reaction to something, you can kind of add postmodernism to it, kind of thing, which I think is so interesting. Especially because it usually plays with a variety of different elements. Like it talks about it can be used in the dialogue, it can be used in the style format. It's both broad and defined all at once, which makes it really, really interesting. I think I read on one of the sites, it's a vivid intensity of the surface, which I thought was such a cool way to put it. It's like the surface things, specifically when we're talking about Brick, it's like this vivid intensity of the film noir genre. It's like, let's take every single element of film noir and make it so intense. But the way that we add a twist on it to kind of make it postmodern is putting it in the realm of a modern, at the time, high school. And so you get these like such funny moments that really, really play with like both the genre and postmodernism, and talking about like the time itself, the time that it was made itself, of like 2005 high school. Like, for example, that party scene I thought was such a good example of this, of like her lounging at the party, and you go into and you're like expecting this, like there's this party happening, and you walk in and they're just chilling.
It's just super classy. Someone's playing on the piano.
Yes. Like, cause we expect, to walk into like a house party you would probably see in Clueless, and it's like not at all, which again is like kind of like subverting your expectation. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes
like
me
that
wonder.
noir style bar is more of what it was, but in this weird setting of 2005 high school, which was just great.
Yeah.
I did have a thought watching it this time, wondering what would have happened in our society if Brick had the same influence as The Breakfast Club, where kids watch it before they go to high school. Oh man, is this what high school is going to be like?
Well, I had kind of a similar thought. Kevin's gonna get mad at me when I say this. When I was watching this movie, what it reminded me of was like, when I was in high school, we all made a lot of movies, and I know a lot of people who eventually went to film school and college, like made a lot of movies. And when I watched their movies in high school, from high school days, like they are very like a lot of them, I've noticed a pattern where it's like they're molded after noirs and they're supposed to be funny, but it's high school kids. And I'm like, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Obviously, this movie has a much more serious tone with a lot of funny bits like sprinkled in, but it reminded me a lot of 15-year-olds like driving their parents' cars around the neighborhood, and it's black and white, and someone's got a fedora and a jacket, and I'm like, why have I seen this so many times? I'm like, oh my god, it reminds me of all my friends'
It's
movies
artsy.
from like 12 years ago.
But noir is the noir aesthetic, I would say, is definitely very appealing to a high school crowd.
Yes.
Like that mentality, because of how noir is. It's like, it's with the voiceover, and it's just like really cool sounds, terse dialogue.
People think of like, that transatlantic accent.
Yeah.
And they all want to imitate that, which I think is really cool. But
I want to be that guy.
yeah,
Right?
I want to be that guy.
Yeah. But it's interesting because like using the postmodernism of like forcing you to look through the lens of film noir to view this high school experience allows for kind of like new but still familiar kind of frame of reference. But it kind of allows Ryan the opportunity to like give commentary on the high school experience, and particularly this like, again, very 2005-esque, like talking about like the drugs in high school and how those different cliques work together kind of stuff. It's like you have this such intensity of film noir that it allows for like some really interesting commentary, I think, on that high school experience.
It would have been really interesting to watch this movie in high school. Just kind of be like, I don't know. I can totally imagine a high school kid just watching this movie, be like, yeah, and then like their mind kind of like, imagines their school as like the noir style and brick to kind of help cope with like the worst aspects of high school, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You standing at your locker, and that's like in your mind, and you're just kind of looking over your shoulder, and you're like pretending like you're in a noir like movie.
The internal monologue going on.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
I'm imagining some kid like idolizing JGL and like just the annoyance I would have with that person if that was a real life. I feel like, no, stop.
Oh yeah, totally. No, it would totally be misinterpreted for sure.
It's like in the context of the film, it's fun and interesting and creates for a cool character, but let's not bring that to the real life, friends.
But I want to be that guy. But Tiffany, did you have any notes on postmodernism you wanted to share as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go into it a little bit. So like in terms of like this movie and diverting expectation, and I'm sure a lot of people at the time that this movie came out like didn't really know it was gonna be like a kind of noir type setup, but like when I watched it, I tried to take note of all the times where I was like, this feels like this could be a thriller or some sort of drama, which it is a drama, but like there's so many times where I'm like, my brain like set itself to expect some sort of crazy thriller, like some super mind messed up thing that kind of was like becoming a thing at that time. But like obviously that doesn't happen. It completely flips your expectation on its head. And I think, Ryan did a really good job at setting that up from the get-go. And, especially with like the coloration of the movie, it's dark, it's really cool, and it's got a very contrasty look and feel. So you think it's going to be like, it kind of feels like a horror, kind of feels like it could be like a full-fledged thriller, but it's not totally. And I do appreciate that aspect of it. An example I thought of just in general for postmodernism is La La Land. And I know a lot of people are probably going to get mad for me saying this. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I remember the general like reaction to that movie from like older generations. They were like, they didn't end up with each other at the end. And it's like, that's not the point of the movie. But when you think of like modernism and the movies from that time, what people grew up being used to, they would end up together at the end.
Right.
And you know, it's not just that they don't end up together at the end. It's that there's an entire montage of them like imagining what would happen if they ended up together, and she ends up with somebody else. And spoilers for La La Land, I guess, but it completely sets up this, you know, Damien Chazelle's like, here is a movie that feels like it's from the 50s. It feels like a very 50s musical, but just kidding. It's also not. And I don't know, I just always thought that was a really good, I just thought it was kind of funny that the people reacted to that movie act like, you know, being really upset about it. Not that it's funny, but it's just ironic.
And social media doesn't exist in that movie. What a shame.
Yeah.
They got smartphones, but not social media. That's what I thought was funny in that movie. But no, I really do like La La Land. You make a really great point about that as well. You know, postmodernism is, you know, blending the old with the new. And so, and one more note on postmodernism, that there isn't a movement beyond postmodernism. Once the shift becomes postmodernist, that's it. Like, it's always going to be blending old with new. People are trying to like say there's postmodernism, or metamodernism is another term that I've heard go around. But even when it comes to metamodernists, which is where it's, you know, it's like postmodernism, but it winks at the audience because the audience knows the cliches and the tropes and all that stuff, but it's still postmodernism. Like, the cliches and the tropes just become modernist in themselves, and then and then the metamodernism approach is just twisting those and subverting those to create a more postmodernist trope instead. And then you know, art influencing arts, history, and all that stuff. So it's postmodernism. It's really broad subject, but it once you notice it doesn't really go away, I would like to think.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the interesting part about postmodernism, is that it's not just like a film theory thing. Postmodernism is encompassed in kind of all art. Like, it's something that shows up in music and art and architecture and literature, and like, it's something that you can find in pretty much all varieties of art. Because as we moved into modernism and then eventually postmodernism, because like modernism in music or in art, for example, is a very visual version of this. Like, they were rejecting the idea of perspective and realist representation, like you were talking about earlier, Kevin, and moving into Cubism with Picasso, and Surrealism with Dali, and Dadaism and Futurism. And with architecture, it's, you know, they moved away from like domes and columns and pitch roofs and moved into more plain geometrical shapes like we see in like Art Deco. And so it's kind of cool that this is one of the is a really great example of how it's not just relevant to film theory, but it's something that you can apply to a variety of different things. Because after you get this Cubism and Surrealism and Dadaism, you obviously move into postmodernism and their reactions to that. And so, yeah, I just thought that was cool. It's one of the few things where it'll transcend just film.
Right. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the reason we felt like that Brick was a good example to show this is because it was how clear cut it was, and like, this is noir in the high school setting. Which is like you can see the two entities meshed together in front of you and be like, oh, this is like, you know, it is taking a modernist thing in a new setting. You know, like we mentioned before, the dialogue is terse and snappy. The sensory, there's our sensory details and the visuals, such as like the heat of the sun, the organic interaction between the characters and the set pieces. Like, there's one scene in particular that I really love in the basement towards the end of the movie, when he passes by the mirror, and then you know, he touches the mirror and he walks by and finds like the brick, and then like he gets grabbed in the mirror and he gets hit against the mirror. The mirror is spinning and reflecting light as the conversation is going on. I just felt like that was a really nice organic interaction between the character and the world around them as well. And also we have the Femme Fatale antagonists. Spoilers. This is a spoiler section, but that's the twist.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the Femme Fatale antagonist situation, like, it was almost a twofold femme fatale, because you have the original passing away of the person that kind of is the instigator of the whole situation of like what happened to I forgot her name. I'm the worst.
The girlfriend.
The girlfriend, yes.
Emily Day Raven.
The girl from Lost.
Exactly. The Australian one.
Yes. But when she passes away, and then you also have the femme fatale at the end of her kind of being the person to kind of instigate everything. And so you kind of have this double take on that, which I thought was really interesting.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, and some of the key traits that you kind of see in postmodernism, not just in how we see them in Brick, but there are some other important things that they addressed in postmodernism, like the rejection of grand narratives and using a lot more intertextuality, which is heavily used in Brick. Eclecticism, hybridity, which is that generic conventions are no longer fixed, both the term generic conventions as well as genres are no longer fixed. Like, for example, you'll see a lot more blending of genres and linear and fragmented narratives rather than traditional kind of formats of things.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes. And Memento. It's great.
Oh yeah, that too.
But yeah, and then you'll get into a lot of stuff with aesthetic style as well, of like old styles being reworked. Again, something that we see in Brick. Some parody and tongue-in-cheek humor of different aspects of film. Lots of irony, playful challenge to the seriousness of modernism, and you'll also get some camp in there, which is always fun. And then with
Monty
Characters,
Python
you'll
and
get
the Holy Grail.
Yes. And then characters, you start to get like people who are more multi-dimensional. Like you'll get less one-note characters and more people who kind of blur the lines of good and bad.
Right.
Like you'll start to get some gray areas and some multiple and fractured identities. Like they present one way, but they actually are another way, kind of thing. So yeah, those are some of the key traits of postmodernism that you'll see both in Brick and if you start evaluating other films as well, that become highly relevant in our ways to kind of denote, oh, hey, that's postmodernism right there.
What? Postmodernism in real life. Oh no. Life is a movie.
Life is a movie.
Don't you wish there was a pop culture review site that appealed to cinephiles, both professional and casual? Well, look no further than crpwrites.com. New content such as movie and TV reviews, film essays, and more are released every week by writers who crave for movies like every moviegoer craves for popcorn. CRP Writes is dedicated to making sure no one is wasting time or money where they shouldn't be. After all, you have to be able to buy your popcorn and eat it too. crpwrites.com. Casual reviews with purpose since 2018.
Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. And now we want to talk about some fun facts about Brick. So, just like with any other movie, if you look at IMDb trivia, which is not a reliable source, by the way, or just go ahead and Google some fun facts, you'll see some cool stuff. And Brick is no exception. It's a very independent film. It is Rian Johnson's first film straight out of film school. So it's done on a small budget, and some of the stories are a little interesting. Tiffany, did you want us to kick us off?
Sure, yeah. When I was doing an in-depth research for this film, I was really interested into what drove Rian Johnson to make something like this.
What drives a man to make
what drives Ryan to do the things now? He cited somewhere, it says, I think on his Wikipedia page, it says that he cited Sergio Leone, who was the director of like spaghetti westerns. He's in for those of you who don't know, spaghetti westerns are basically westerns that were made in like Europe, specifically like Italy, and it was around the time that, you know, American westerns were kind of starting to not be as, you know, cool, I guess, anymore. They were still being made, but it wasn't
last week.
Yeah, they're so last week, and I didn't really like understand like what that meant. Still, I was like, I don't really, because I'm not like a super huge Western fan, but my friend pointed out to me that like they were like, oh, like you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? And I said, yeah, and they're like, Dalton is in spaghetti westerns, like that's like what he like ends up doing, and I'm like, oh, okay, like so it kind of puts a little context in that in terms of like the time frame, the 70s and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Learned what spaghetti westerns were, so that's cool.
Nice.
That is cool. You can also see his influence by Cowboy Bebop, because like the guy who's the main character in Brick is basically Spike Seagal from Cowboy Bebop.
The hair and everything.
Yeah, he's got the full cool guy mood, which I'm all for. I love a good cool character. And,
JGL for Spike Spiegel.
Oh, that'd be wild.
He was really cool. No, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is really cool in this movie. I will say the one thing that kind of annoyed me about him, and how his hands are like placed in his pockets, like the whole time during the movie. I'm like, man, he's got his hands like in his pockets, and then he like walks and you could see his fist just like moving the jacket with him, and I'm like, why does that look so funny to me? Well, I don't know, like, it just looks so aggressive.
It's a very Spike Spiegel thing though.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also like what we talked about
cool
earlier
guy.
Like if this kid was real in your high school, you just wouldn't want to talk to that kid. He's just
he's just aggressively like got his fists in his pockets and are just like shoving his fists into like the corner of the pocket, so it just looks like you just can tell he's mad, and you're like, man, you're stretching out your coat like that. Like,
but I want to be cool like him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know why that bothered me so much, but it did. But yes,
that's because it's the same thing that we were saying before. Like, he's a cool character, but I don't know if I'd want to be friends with him.
Yeah, like he's cool. He's cool for the movie, but in real life, like, you know, it cuts to like how people actually see him, and everyone's like, ugh.
I mean, I don't know. The things he does in this movie is like, I don't want to meet him in real life.
It's kind of funny though, like the scene where he's like in the back of the school with all the punks, and he like takes the straw out of the guy's mouth, and then it cuts back to him like putting it back into the frame into his mouth, and it's like tied, and the guy's looking at him like, what the heck? I'm like, that is so funny yet so weird. Good. If you probably saw it in real life, you'd be like, what the hell?
Well, I think that's a play in an actual noir trope, like the detective will do like take a cigar or something.
Or like a cigarette.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't do that with high school kids. You're pushing it already with the brick of drugs.
Yeah.
Hey man, it was 2005. You could be 18 and buy cigarettes. Not anymore.
No, not anymore. That's true.
But yeah, some fun facts I had was that it was the film. So like we said in the beginning, the screenplay and the film treatment is up online for free on Rian Johnson's website. The treatment for the film is written in novella form with illustrations. So like, you know, I had read it before, and it just reads like a Dashiell Hammett novel or Ray Bradbury. So those kind of like old hard-boiled detective novels. It was shot at Rian Johnson's high school. Rian Johnson kind of says it definitely felt weird to like go back to high school after he graduated from film school, but also it's kind of cathartic returning there as well. It was in San Clemente, California. That's where the high school was located. And the fun fact, the movie fails the Bechdel test. Meets only one of the three requirements, which is to have at least two named women in it. The women do not talk to each other, and the women do not talk about anything else besides a man.
Gotta love it. There are definitely some flaws with the Bechdel test, but it's a good starting point for most of these things.
Oh yeah,
but
I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, it's kind of an is what it is
Yeah.
sort of thing for this. It definitely was not a movie about or for women.
Rip.
But it definitely was interesting because every single location that he chose felt like, oh yeah, this is where Ryan spent like his high school time. Like it
totally.
felt like because sometimes with films you're like, oh yeah, this is like a chosen location, and sometimes you're like, oh yeah, this is just a generic alleyway number 67. These very much felt like, oh yeah, Rian Johnson definitely hung out behind this dumpster. This is for sure. They all felt like very real places that he lived his life and then got to introduce us to, which I thought was cool.
Well, the real question is, like, which character better represents Rian Johnson in his high school days? Is it JGL? Is it one of the punks?
I bet you his
it's
answer would
JGL.
change based on the day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They're all.
He's
a
like,
little bit
I am all the characters there, all me. Like that's something like weird he would say just to be funny.
I mean,
Or he's the
it's kind of
brain.
true, but yeah.
He's the brick.
He's the bad brick.
Yeah, he's the brick.
Cassie, did you have any fun facts to share with us as well?
Yeah, I just he wrote the original screenplay like back in 1997, so it obviously took him many years to finally fund the project, which is not unusual for indie films. It's a good hey, just because you write it right now doesn't mean it's going to get filmed right now.
Yep.
But his parents
But
ended
don't
up
give up
funding
hope.
the project for him in 2003.
That's
so
nice of
That was
them.
nice of
Nice.
them. We appreciate that your parents had the money to do that, Ryan.
Yeah, it must be
Yeah,
nice.
for sure.
That must be nice.
which is not a diss on Rian Johnson at all, because it's like, since the film is good and it launched his career, I'm like, cool. But if it was terrible and he kept doing it, I'd be like, why?
Yeah, for sure. And I thought it was also fun that he kind of brought his family into it too, because the music score was composed by Rian Johnson's cousin, Nathan Johnson.
That's amazing.
So it got to be in more than one way a family affair, which is fun.
I think it's so funny when like you're watching indie movies and like even like maybe even bigger budgeted indie movies, when you like if you're like me and you sit there and watch the credits all the way through, you will notice like, special thanks, or like you'll notice executive producers, and it's like you can tell when it's their parents or their family, which is also like, I'm like, oh, that is really cool. And some people will be like, their parents funded it. But I'm like, no, like, I think that's really nice. And I think I can pretty much gauge when I'm like, oh, yes, someone's family funded this movie, or somebody's family, they had their family like in the cast, or, doing crafty and stuff. I don't know why. I think that's always just like a nice little nugget.
Nice.
When you're watching the credits.
Nice, wholesome, supportive. However, I wonder what that pitch meeting was like when he pitched it to his parents.
Yeah.
Fair.
I know that if I were to pitch Brick to my parents, they'd be like, no.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
man.
Especially when
That
I was
is-
in film school, there would be no way that my parents would be like into that.
Not at all.
I mean,
Sorry,
It's
mom and
not
dad who
as
are probably
bad-
Rip.
listening to this.
it's not as bad as Ari Aster's senior thesis film, which I'm sure his parents might have, who knows? They may have had to see that at some point. They're like, oh,
Was that the like Meet the Johnsons or whatever?
yes.
Yeah. I still haven't seen it yet. I saw it was floating around. I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that yet.
Yeah, I've seen it. And I'm like, oh, God. But Cassie, have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
Big.
Then I will not say anything further.
Except that
We have to
apparently it's
add it to the
messed
list.
up.
Yeah. Next film. Just kidding.
Done. So that is Brick. If you want to watch it, go ahead and check it out. It's available to rent on digital for $3.99. Like I said, currently not streaming as of recording this. If you want to get the Blu-ray, I highly recommend the Kino Lorber restoration. It's all restored in 4K, has decent audio commentary and a bunch of cool bonus features on it, and just looks really, really nice. Now we're going to bring up our next film, which Cassie chose. Cassie, what is our next film?
Yeah. This movie is one of my jams. I very much enjoy it. It'll be fun to go back to it. It is Contact from 1997. I have 3 nouns for you: Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, and aliens. It's very exciting.
Oh, two proper nouns and one regular noun.
I like to give you the variety, but it's Dr. L.A. Arroway, who is Jodie Foster, races to interpret a possible message originating from the Vega star system. Once first contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence is proven, Arroway contends with restrictive National Security Advisor Kitts and religious fanatics bent on containing the implications of such an event. An incredible message is found hidden in the signal, but will Arroway be the one to answer its call? It's fun. It sounds wild, but one of the things I love about Contact is it's a very grounded feeling sci-fi film. So, but yeah, it's based on a novel by Carl Sagan, which I bought to read, hopefully before we do this episode. And directed by Robert Zemeckis, the guy who did Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Castaway. Yeah. And it's
recently, which is on HBO Max, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about that one, maybe.
But yeah, we enjoy a good Robert Zemeckis film. So.
Yeah, the classic. Absolutely. I mean, I love Back to the Future. It's one of my favorite trilogies. But yeah, Contact is available to rent digitally for $3.99. You can find the Blu-ray, which for $10, I believe. I have it sitting in front of me. I probably should have looked at the price, but yeah, the Blu-ray, the cover looks really nice. It has actually 3 commentaries on it. One with Jodie Foster, I guess just Jodie Foster. Another with Robert Zemeckis and Steve Starkey, which I believe Starkey is one of the producers, and another one with Ken Ralston and Steven Rosenbaum, which I believe are critics because I don't see them on the credits at all. But yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I have it right in front of me, 2.5 hours long. But hey, sometimes the best movies are a little over 2 hours. It's great.
It is a long one, but it'll be fun. Hopefully,
2.5 hours is nothing as long as it's good. I mean, I watched Mank for 2 hours and I've wanted to die.
I'm excited to share this one with you. This one's definitely has a special place in my heart. So I'm excited to share it with you.
Nice. Yeah. So this has been. Sorry, did you go ahead?
Oh no, I was just gonna say it was the 90s was a very difficult decade to choose a film because there were so many good films that came out during that decade.
Yeah.
Because if you guys haven't noticed, we're moving backwards in time a little bit. We just did the 2000s. Now we're moving to the 90s. And
now I got to pick an 80s movie. That's gonna be hard.
Good luck. It's so many good blockbusters in the 90s and the 80s. So
what a time to be alive, to be a producer during that time. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens during those times too.
Very much so. Very much so.
But yeah, this has been Breaking Into Cinema. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you again in 2 more weeks as we talk about the history of film noir. Ooh. Already, I can tell you one source that I'm using. It is Film Noir from Berlin to Sin City by Mark Bold. That is Bould. It's from the film theory book series called Shortcuts. I'm not sure if you can find them online, or maybe like the used bookstore or something like thriftbooks.com. But I found mine in the hallway of my school. My professor just had a box of books they were just giving out, and I just took them all.
Nice.
You can follow us at Committed Crits on Twitter. That is COMMITTED CRITS. My name is Kevin Lau. You can follow me on Twitter at AuthorKLau. That is AUTHORKLAU.
And I'm Tiffany, and you can read my film reviews at crprights.com. That's CRPWRITES.com.
And I'm Cassie. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Cassie's Story. CASSIESSTORY.
You can support us on Patreon, link below. Just $1 or $2 a month can really help the channel. Special thanks to Zach, who loves the editing, and Jordan for composing our theme. Special thanks to Ryan Kowalkowski for helping us with technical difficulties today. We appreciate you very much. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.